Hey guys, welcome back to another Riffs and Gigs interview. And today I'm here with two members of BANGOVER. Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
I
hello.
I am pronouncing that right, aren't
Yeah,
I?
Yeah.
Bangover.
Cool. Where did the name come from?
So we're actually named after a municipal waste song. I think it's the last track on their first album. It's called Bangover, and it's just about that feeling you get the morning after a gig where your neck's all seized up, your head's pounding, you just feel like you've fought 100 people and lost. But you've also kind of got that elation from a really good night. And we love that tune. We think it's a cracking tune, and we've all felt
Mm.
that feeling countless times. And it just seemed a good fit for a band name. Um, Kind of a statement of intent as well as a description of who we are. So yeah,
Yeah.
Just come to one of our gigs, you will hurt in the morning.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, we'll try and make sure of it at least. Oh.
That's your mission statement. Stick that on a poster.
Yeah, that and fun.
It's often that you wake up in the morning and feel like, last night was fun. I feel like
Yeah.
it's an indicator of how fun it was.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we try our best to make sure that you have a good time at our gigs, and if you wake up the next day and you feel sore, but you feel like you've had a good time, then that's mission accomplished, really.
So then, how long have you guys been a band then?
So we've been together since 2011 altogether. Um, I've been in the band since 2013, so about 2 years after the inception. Andreas, when did you join again?
I joined in 2018, it would have been. So I'm actually the newest member of the band, which feels wild to say given that it's been
Mm.
like 7 years now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
It's a horrible thought realizing how long ago, or how not so long ago, 2017 really was.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it
It's,
really
it's,
is.
it's even worse thinking back, like you've been in the band about 12 years and you're kind of sitting there like, well, I remember joining, I remember begging to join, and then suddenly 12 years goes past and you're like, hang on a second, what's happened here? Yeah,
You've blinked and then suddenly it's 2025, and
yeah, exactly. I was 20 and now I'm 32. I'm like, hang on a second, this isn't right at all.
so how did you end up getting involved with the band then, both of you?
I'll let
Uh,
Scott go first on that one.
Yeah, so back in 2013, I was in another band before, and it was kind of quietening down a bit, I suppose. Like people were getting off on their separate stuff, and I was looking for something else to kind of get involved with. And I was like, well, I could start afresh myself, which I kind of thought, you know, maybe I will, but we'll see how it goes. And then I went to, I think it was Nambucca up in North London, and I think it was a Metal to the Masses gig actually. Oh yeah, it was. It was a Metal to the Masses gig, and I saw Bangover as they were then, which was a three piece. And I thought, oh, these guys really like they're really sick, like they're really good. Like they've got some great riffs, they've got some really good songs. But I feel like there's like something slightly missing from them. And I was like, I think they need a second guitar player. So after about two or three more pints, I thought I'll go up to them and I'll ask them like how are they, and then introduce myself and then see how we go. And then after two or three more pints, I basically ended up begging them to let me join. And
The
Jack,
power of the
Jack,
pint.
honestly, the Dutch courage. Jack basically said, "You know what? We'll give you a go." And I thought, well, that's all I can ask for. And I think about a month later, I'd written, no, not written, sorry, I'd gone through the EP stuff that they had going on at that time, learned it all by ear somehow, and then went up to a rehearsal space, played with them for a couple of hours, and they went, "Yeah, that's good enough, won't you? Well, here's our next gig. Just learn what you can." And I was like, well, I suppose I'm in the band now. And then, yeah, that's
And
that's how it happened.
now 12 years later.
Yeah, here we are. Complete waste of my time. No, it was no, it's been all right so far. Just big. So it just goes to show anyone out there, if you really want to join a band, just watch them live and just get drunk and then just ask really, really nicely. And you never know. You never
Yeah.
know.
Be
See,
persistent and
Well, it is. That's
my
what you got
road
to do.
in my road in started as well with seeing the band live and a lot of beers, but involved me getting asked really nicely in the end.
Yeah.
Um, so I was friends with the old singer before me, a guy called Finn, and through him I was aware of Bangover. So when I moved back to London after dropping out of uni, I started going to Bangover gigs. I got friendly with the rest of the guys. I could see from the off that there was something special in this band. They were hands down my favorite band in the scene. All their gigs were always just heaving, sweaty, so much fun, and I loved it. And then one day I got a message from Finn, basically to the tune of, I've got a Bangover gig booked tomorrow. I've also got a university exam that I didn't realize I had. I can't do the gig. Do you want to fill in for me? And I'm like, sure, send me some lyrics. I'll see what I can do. So he sent me basically all the lyrics of all the songs they had up to that point. I messaged one of the other guys going, right, what are you playing tomorrow? So I can focus on those. Just stayed up till about 2 in the morning, drilling them till I had them like firm in my head. Turned up to the show the next day, had a few pints, probably forgot half the lyrics on stage, but had a whale of a time doing it.
Mm.
And then that happened another maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of the next year, where Finn had messaged me and go, "Oh, I've double booked myself again." So I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's go again." We ride. And then eventually it reached a head where Finn very suddenly and very aggressively decided he was leaving the band about 2 weeks before they were due to go into a very expensive studio to record the debut album.
Yeah.
So that obviously left everyone reeling. The lads
Mm.
took their week in the studio and used that time to kind of figure out how they wanted to move forwards. And at the end of that week, I got a message off them basically going, look, you know the lyrics probably better than Finn ever did by this point, and we know we like you and you gel well with the band, so we want you in full time, but you need to be ready to come back to the studio in 2 weeks' time to record this whole album, and we need you to write lyrics for two of the songs in that time. So I was like, oof, that's a lot. Let me think about that. Um, Turned it over in my back of my head for probably about a day and decided, this is a good opportunity, and if I don't seize it, I'll regret it. So I jumped on. I wrote those two songs. Nearly lost my mind with one of them because the guys were like, "Yeah, no, it's a silly song called Palindrome. We just want the lyrics to be a bunch of palindromes. It'll be super easy to write." It fucking wasn't. It really fucking wasn't. But it came together, and it's a cracking tune. And went into the studio, absolutely wrecked my voice trying to churn this album out in 2 days because I had no real experience of singing at that point and no technique and was still a heavy smoker. And it's a miracle I managed to claw enough voice back to get the second day done. And then afterwards, I couldn't speak for a week. But it worked. And I was proud of what I put out at the time. I was really proud of that album and how it came together. It was a solid foundation. And then by the time we came to do the next release, what was it, like 3 years later, I had seriously upped my game and I was incredibly proud of what I put out on the next one. And then in the 3 or so years it's been since then, we've all upped our game again for this new album. So yeah, it's quite nice to kind of look back and see the progression of it.
So obviously you've talked about the song Palindrome consisting purely of songs that are palindromes, and I think that's one thing I love because obviously it is heavy music.
Yeah.
I'm not sure kind of how you would exactly describe it, but I just love that from a lyrics point of view, it really doesn't take itself seriously a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that's something we've always kind of strived for.
Mm.
Like, there's so many thrash bands out here just trying to be like super serious. Every song is about war and death and politics. And it's like, lighten up a bit, man. Like, metal is fun at the end of the day. You go
Yeah.
to a gig not to stand around and be moody, but to have a few beers, jump in a pit, flail about a bit, and go home feeling exhilarated. So, why not just do some silly shit in the meantime, have a laugh with the lyrics, and put a smile on everyone's face at the same time?
Yeah.
So it's,
I
that's
think,
like, oh,
sorry, I think Jack summed it up once. He said, I think the slogan was silly songs but serious riffs.
Yeah.
I think that really kind of like encapsulates what we kind of do and what we're about. It's like Yeah, we do what we need to do in terms of writing the heavy riffs and the solos and all the good stuff that comes with like heavy music. But then you get to the lyrics and you're kind of just like, well, what can we do here? Let's write a song about the general from Star Wars. Here's Grand Moff Tarkin, or a song about brushing your teeth, or about hating trains. It's it's stupid stuff like that, and it helps us because we're just like we're not really serious people. I think is half the issue. Like, well, we can take ourselves seriously to a point, but there's if music isn't anything, it's something that you can like put yourself into. And I think listening to some of the lyrics that we have, like obviously you do have the serious lyrics. Like sometimes you are angry about something, and if the music's right for it, you write the lyrics to accommodate what you hear in the riffs. Um, but half the time we're kind of sitting there like, let's think of something stupid. What about a bear that's gone on a rampage, like after taking a load of cocaine? It's just it could be anything with us. I think we like to keep people on their toes. I think that's what we like to
Yeah.
do.
It's like
Sometimes we keep
I'm
ourselves on our toes too. One of the tunes on the album when Scott first brought it to us, he was like, "Right, don't know if any of you have played this game Wolfenstein, but there's this character in it called Death's Head, and I think it'd be sick to write a song about him." So cool. We had riffs, wrote lyrics over them, cracking. But every time we mentioned it in the band group chat, somebody would inevitably read it as Death Shed. And it just happened so many times and got flagged up so many times that we were like, fuck it, let's just change it. Let's just make it Death Shed. So now we've got this song about this miserable old bastard that sits in his garden shed plotting to kill all his neighbors because he hates them.
Yeah.
based on a true story. Any horror stories of neighbours or
No, not at all. Actually,
No, I
no.
mean
Honestly,
I'm sure it's based on a true story somewhere in this fucking country, but
yeah. It's just it was so organic how that happened because originally the song was going to be called uh what was it going to be called? Riders of the Rohirrim. It was called because there's a lot of triplets in the song, and I thought that'd be good because I had this idea and I was just like, you could have the bit where King Theoden is screaming death in the middle of it. How good would that be after a breakdown and all that stuff? But then Jack came out with a song that also was a movie title, and I thought, do you know what? I'll come away from the movie title. I'll try a game instead. And I was playing Wolfenstein at the time, and I thought, I'll call this song called Death's Head. That sounds like a great idea because it's about this evil asshole who builds machines, and it's all fictional, of course, but like it's a great concept for a song. But, but yeah, every time we mentioned it, someone would just say Death Shed, and we were like, oh, that is good. I mean, but we'll see how it goes. But then it kept happening. And we thought, let's just scrap the whole idea. Like, let's just go, let's call it Death Shed. And then Andreas went away, wrote these lyrics, and it was like, well, there you go. Done.
I think one of my favorite examples is the opening track off the album, the Texas Chainsaw Thrasher,
Mm.
right down to the T with a little voiceover at the beginning.
yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
That
that was
how
a
did
really
that
nice
sort of
touch from
how
Jack.
did that sort of come about, and how you guys like, yeah, this is our opener, this is the one.
So how it came about is that our other guitarist Jack just really loves inserting the word thrash into places it has no business being.
Yeah.
like, like our last EP was Close Encounters of the Thrash Kind, for example. And we came to this one and we were like, right, Jack, can you just like maybe not do any thrash puns? And he went, no, fuck you, here's two of them. Thrashing Rail and the Texas Chainsaw Thrashica. And I think with that one particularly, he just kind of got this idea in his head of doing this song about the Chainsaw Massacre, but using a lap steel guitar to mimic the sound of a chainsaw, which is kind of a recurring motif through the song. And from there, it had this big, long, drawn out intro. And he was like, actually, do you know what? The original movie starts with this long speech, and I think it'd be really cool to kind of do a parody of that over this really long drawn out intro. And yeah, he went away, just totally rewrote that speech to make it stupid as fuck. Totally self-deprecating and
Yeah.
brilliant. And
Yeah.
then he fed it through an AI voice generator to get the actual same voice that delivers the original speech, which I think is probably the best use of AI in making music that anyone's stumbled upon thus far. And, there's this whole contentious debate about whether AI has any place in music. I think that is the place it has, and I'm really glad that we found it.
I think it's the only place, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
nothing about it is like AI other than the voiceovers. The
yeah,
voiceovers,
like
it's only suited to what we want it to
Yeah.
do, not because we want it to sound exactly like how we want a riff to sound. It's just we just want this stupid voice. How do we get that? Here's the easiest way to do it. And Jack's kind of an evil genius when it comes to that kind of stuff. To be honest, he comes up with the wackiest ideas, and he's
yeah,
like, bear with me with this. This is going to be all right." And we're like, "Okay." Then like 6 months go by, and you're like, "What's going on with this song?" And he's just like, "No, here it is." And then you hear the whole song, and you're like, "Okay, fucking hell, right, fair enough." Like,
yeah. Like when he first said, "Oh lads, I want to write a fucking 6-act epic that's 7.5 minutes long about a bear doing a load of cocaine and going on a rampage," and we're like, "Oh god, here he goes again." And then he puts it together, and it's one of the best songs that we've ever had.
yeah,
Oh, it's like I don't think AI can perfectly capture the feeling of being really disengaged with the UK's public transport and train system.
No,
yeah,
no, that
yeah,
that requires lived experience that
yeah,
AI
yeah.
will never have.
That requires a pure hatred and a patience of a saint to be dealing with our bloody national rail network.
We were talking a little bit about it before you joined, Scott. But was that kind of a song where the idea came first, or kind of the music, or how did that track go? Obviously, Thrash and Rail again, another thrash pun. But
Yeah.
how did that track kind of come about from idea to completion?
Well, I guess as Andreas was saying, it all comes from this brain that apparently Jack has in his head, where he's like, "I've got this idea. Um, it's going to be called Fractional Rail." And we were like, "Okay, so what's it about?" And he's like, "It's just going to be about hating trains." So that was the initial idea. And we thought, okay, well, Andreas will work his magic and see what he does. Jack came back with some music. And then Andreas, to his credit, was like, "I know how I can make this sound good." He just fitted the perfect melody into where everything is. Sometimes it's very naturally suited. Um, but the name came first, from what I remember.
Yeah, I think the
And then
name's been kicking about since the early days of the band.
yeah, it has been around for a while. And then Jack just kind of did his thing, sat in his room with his recording equipment, and was just like, "Look, here's the song." And as soon as I heard the chorus, I was like, "Okay, this is going to be all right. This is going to be really good." And then when I
And
heard
then,
Andreas with the melody over the chorus, I was like, "Yeah, this is excellent. Like, this is perfect." So
yeah,
yeah,
no, those lyrics actually didn't come completely naturally to me. I'm a bit of a train nerd at heart. I was obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine as a kid, and my dream job was train driver. Luckily, I grew out of that one. um, but I've kind of always retained a soft spot for trains and for traveling by train. So I really kind of had to dig deep into my personal experiences to get into the right headspace to write a song slating trains. And the thing that really clicked for me was just the ridiculous and totally irrational number of times that I have been delayed in fucking Peterborough, of all places, while traveling on the East Coast Main Line. And once I got that first line of "stuck in Peterborough," it just all flowed from there.
feel
And I
hate.
think that's an experience that many hundreds of thousands of people in this country have shared and can relate to.
I mean, I don't usually take the train. I'm not really a trains person. I don't take the trains, but I do live just outside of Peterborough, and I do work in Peterborough, so I fully
Oh.
resonate to just being stuck there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yep, I'm on board.
Well, if the train isn't delayed, you're on board.
If the, yeah,
Hey,
And
drink to that one.
hence I said it's the bloody song. So
But yeah, I think really the kind of cherry on the cake of that song was, I can't remember if it was there from the outset, but at one point Jack was like, "Oh, I have the best idea for this song." And he comes out with this bridge section in the middle where you have the kind of crashing noise of the train grinding to a halt, and then this announcement that the train's delayed as the breakdown builds up under it. and then the big reveal that the breakdown is just the train going chugga 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 choo choo, and fucking when that clicked, I think we all just fell about laughing.
Yeah, it was so good.
It came at the perfect point listening to it as I'm like, you know what? I can see a festival crowd fully on. I'm doing that again, fully on board, fully fully shouting and just yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, we've
it
played
would
that
be good.
song live a few times, and that breakdown always goes off. Always.
Yeah, it does. I still remember because of the sweeping part, I think, just before that bit. Jack was like, I need something good here. I want something that's going to be like kind of like, like a sweeping kind of thing. I mean, it was like, you mean sweep picking? And he was like, yeah. So do you think you could come up with something? I was like, I don't sweep pick, Jack. What, what do you mean? He was like, well, I wrote the song, so you could at least write this. And I went, okay, I'll try and do something. I remember, I think I was watching a Bradley Hall YouTube guitar tutorial, and he was talking about like three string sweeping arpeggios, and I went, well, that might be all right. So I basically just lifted what he did in that video and was like, that works. Showed it to Jackie, he went, that's perfect. I went, okay, good. Moving on. Thank God.
And then I think another great thing about the track is the video that accompanies it.
Yeah.
Kind of the
Yeah.
fact that you went to, I think, was it like a railway
Yeah, it was
society
the
or
Woking Miniature Railway Society. They
Mm.
have this amazing facility. It's called the Misons Railway. It's just outside of Woking. It's a massive plot of land that I think actually they got bought by the McLaren racing team because their old land was right next to the McLaren campus, and then McLaren wanted to expand. So when they came knocking on their door saying, "We want to buy your land," they were like, "Yeah, fine, just find us a new spot." And they found them this cracking location. So they've got this miniature railway set up, which has like multiple configurations. The longest loop is a bit over a mile, and we messaged them because we were just sort of scattershotting every single miniature railway within about 20 miles of London just to find somewhere that would let us film.
Yeah.
And they came back to us really quickly and went, "Yeah, come down, film. We'll give you a day here. You can do whatever you want. Just make a donation to the society." We were like, sick. So we went down and we just dicked about on their railway for like 8 hours. They showed me how to drive the mini train, dream come true. um, and then we faffed about on that for probably 4 or 5 hours. And then they also have like a full size decommissioned train carriage on their site. So we were like, let's set up the drum kit in there and do our band shots in there. That'll be wicked. So that was the other half of the video.
Mm.
And yeah, we just had such a good time. Dave from Horizon's Edge Media, who filmed us, was just such a sound guy, had such a good sense of humor about it all.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think one of the most fun days I've ever had in my life putting that one together. And the end result just speaks for itself, I think.
Yeah,
how did
I can't give enough credit to Dave for that because we had a very loose idea of what we wanted to do. And he came along and was just like, well, we're going to try this, we'll try that, we'll try this, we'll try that. And basically everything we tried was in the video. Like he just came up with these really like these killer ideas, and he's got a really good like wicked sense of humor. And it's just kind of on line where we were, where we are. So, yeah, big shout out to Dave, who's also in a band called Defects, who's I don't know.
Yeah.
They're playing with Trivium, I think, at some point soon. So he's doing all right for himself, and he's still trying to look after us. Bless him. So yeah, big shout out to Dave.
Yeah.
I was going to say how did you sell it to the society? Were you just like, you want to shoot a music video, or were you kind of
Yeah,
I don't think
pretty
we told him a
much.
lot. I don't think we told him like a
Yeah.
great deal.
I think
But
I think we basically just said like we're a thrash metal band from London. We've got a song about trains and we'd like to film on your railway, please. And they were like, "Yeah, cool. We've got a few metalheads in our society. Come down, they'll look after you."
decent?
Yeah. I don't think they quite knew what we were getting into. They enjoyed the day just as much as we did, I think. And then,
yeah,
at the end of the day, we gave each of the guys that was there looking after us 20 quid. And then we made a donation to the society of like another 150, I think. And yeah, obviously,
Which
we'll always sing their praises. We've shared their stuff on our social media as well, just to try and give them some traction as well.
push him.
Uh,
Oh, nice.
But no, it was a very mutually supportive thing.
Which like you said, kind of making the donation and giving the people 20 quid. That's still cheaper than a full location shoot.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly. I
So
God,
mean,
that's a really good deal.
oh, it was
early on
amazing.
we were trying to see if there were any like railway museums or like full size railways that might let us film, and we were getting back quotes of like thousands of pounds for a day of filming, and we were like, we can't do this.
Not gonna do that.
We can barely afford to record our album.
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
exactly. We still need to pay a lot of people to do a lot of more stuff. So if we can get away with not doing that, then
Don't get
fine.
into being in a band, kids. It's a more expensive hobby than crystal meth.
Oh God, yeah.
The results might be better than or maybe not. Who knows?
Marginally.
Marginally.
Well, it really depends on who you ask. I mean, you know.
If you both at the same time, you're definitely going to be broke.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Okay, I gave up all my habits years ago just purely I can lose money on being in a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
So not on the latest album, but I would like to know who is behind the absolute masterpiece that is Macaroni Massacre.
um, I've so that was and I'll answer this purely because I was in the band at a more recent time when that was sorted out. I think that may have been the old singer that came up with that idea. I think he was basing it on what's that? I think Napalm Death. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you suffer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You Suffer. I think that's what he was doing. I think he was just trying to play homage to that, and maybe Jack had an idea in it as well. But yeah, I can't say I was ever truly blown away by it.
I
You
don't know.
know,
I still think it'd be fun to bust it out in a set sometime.
well, it's not hard to do, thankfully.
It's not.
I just imagine it's like we're going to do one more song. That's the song. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was honestly what it was like. We'd play one song before it, and it's like this one's called blah blah blah. We'd do it, and everyone would be like, "Oh, okay, good,
They catch
good."
on to it.
Yeah, it takes them longer than the song to catch it because they're just like, "Oh right, yeah, that was the song, right? Okay, yeah."
So then, kind of coming back to Hibernation, Devastation, the latest album, great name. Have you got a particular kind of standout track from the album that you're like, this is the one I'm most proud of?
I
Oh,
mean, I
this is.
think you'll get a different answer for that from every person in the band that you ask. Because the thing
Mm,
about Hibernation Devastation is it's definitely the sort of most collaborative songwriting process that any of our releases have had. Previously there's very much been a primary songwriter and then sort of every now and then a contribution from someone else. But this
mm,
album, Jack wrote three of the songs, Scott wrote two of the songs, I wrote one, Alex, our bassist, wrote one. We're all exceptionally proud of our own output, but also of each other's. Like, for
yeah.
me, the song that kind of got me sparked and got me moving on writing the lyrics was one of Scott's tunes, The Banshee, which when he sent it through and I heard those riffs, I just knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. It just chimed with me. Those riffs are so catchy. The whole thing is so well structured. There's tempo changes all over the show on it, but it just works so well. And yeah, I'm immensely proud of the shape that that song's taken. I think it's one of my best vocal performances as well. So yeah, I'm massively proud of that tune.
Uh, I would agree, but like, yeah, as Andrea said, it's quite hard to be, kind of subjective because we've all had a hand in the songs. I think for me, it kind of switches between a couple of them. I think I really like it used to be Texas, and I was like, I really like that. I really dig the opening riff and how it kicks in and all that stuff. But then when I started hearing Andreas' song "Scum of the Earth," there was something about he was going through it, and I was like, okay, this is different to everything else we've kind of done. Like the chorus has like open string parts and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, that's very kind of like Megadeth-ish. Like I really dig that. And then when I heard the lyric and then I heard the melody, I was like, okay, this is going to be great. I think for me, I think that has probably my favorite solo I've ever recorded as well. That first solo, because
Mm.
when when Andreas was going through it, it's like here's the first, like here's where the first solo will be, here's where the second one will be, and I think there was something that came to me. I think it's it's weird because I wrote Banshee while I was laying in bed. The same thing with Death Shed. Like it seems to be the way I write. Like riffs will pop into my head just as I'm about to fall asleep, and I'll be like, okay, if I remember that in the morning, it's probably going to be good. And then I remember Death Shed and Banshee in the morning. And I thought, okay, this is okay. Let me quickly like figure out how to do it. And it was the same thing with the first solo in Scum. I was like, I was listening, I heard something, and I was like, do you know what? That would be really cool there. And then I realized it's basically just Master of Puppets. And I was like, okay, let's just lift
You know, it
that.
is as well. I never
Yeah,
clocked that.
yeah, that's all it is. It's just that opening lick to Master of Puppets just moved up the neck, and I was like, okay, I'll take that. And then I was, and about what 2 or 3 weeks later, I was trying to learn some Ingve Malmsteen. So that second lick is like almost like Phrygian, like like a dominant scale, and I was like, and I was like, that's really cool. I'm gonna nick that as well. And then about 2 weeks after that, I was learning some Van Halen, and then the last lick is just basically a Van Halen lick where he just like keeps the same pattern but just comes down the strings, and I was like, oh, I'll stick that as well. And then the last bit is just me, and I was like, I strung it all together and thought, wow, that's fucking great. So,
So the entire album's got a bit of Malmsteen, a bit of Bradley Hall, a bit of
honestly, when it comes to my stuff, yeah, it basically is. I mean, the solo in Death Shed is basically Tony Iommi. Like, you know, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just having a good time writing it. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know,
I think as well that's kind of a defining sort of theme and feature of the album as a whole is that we've thrown in so many kind of tributes and homages to artists that we love, not just in the guitar solos, but like the big breakdown in the Banshee, which is a straight up rip off of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac.
yeah,
The
yeah,
the last weird sort of janky reggae-ish riff in Tannhauser Gate, which when you get into the timing of it, actually is just a big tribute to Davidian by Machine Head. Like, there's so many little things like that scattered through the album
mm,
that kind of maybe they're outside the realm of thrash, but they just put such a sort of unique mark on the album and such a sort of sense of who we are as a band and who our
absolutely.
influences are. And I think that's what kind of elevates it above anything we've done before.
Yeah,
and you mentioned Tannhauser Gate, and I think I quite like that one on first listen because it is just largely instrumental.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
completely different to the rest of the album.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that comes from Comley's trippy, proggy kind of way of thinking. He's always kind of like Comley has probably the most eclectic music taste out of the band. He likes
Yeah.
nearly bloody everything. You know,
Yeah.
he will listen to whatever you put up in front of him. If he likes it, he likes it. He'll make playlists on Spotify that are like 4 or 5 albums long, and you're kind of sitting there in the car like, some of this is great, some of this is just fucking shit. but but yeah, that's just Comley's way. He's like, Comley is like out of the box. Like he doesn't even know what the box is. He just lives on another planet somewhere. He's great comedy. He comes up with his
Yeah.
wacky ideas, and it's like, I'm going to put this reggae riff into the last bit of this song, and we're all kind of like, what is going on? But no, I really like Tannhauser. I really like the way that came out. Actually, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's a really good one.
It's a funny one, that one, because like when he first sent the song and it was literally just like a rough recording of guitars and bass, I was like,
Mm.
what is this? Like, there's some really cool
Yeah.
ideas in here, but it's so disjointed. Like, there's three very distinct sections and they just don't gel at all for me. But
Mm.
then, the lads went away and they recorded it, and I came back and I heard it with the drums, and I was like, oh, okay, this is something else.
Yep.
And then Alex put that spoken word bit over the middle section. I was like, okay, this is something else again. And then, we sent it off to Domo from Gamma Bomb, who mixed and mastered the album, and he worked a little bit of magic on it, sort of put those sort of swooshy synths over that middle section. He recorded his guest solo over the last riff. And
Mm.
when that came back, I was like, oh, I get it now. This song slaps. Like,
Going back to our earlier plagiarisms, that middle part of Tannhauser is basically what his version of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is by Iron Maiden. that was his quota for that bit. He was like, I need to make it
I
like,
never put that one together
yeah,
either.
honestly, like, oh, we're an original band with non-original ideas. that's
Yeah,
that's what we are.
There's no hiding it.
No,
that's
I
our new
mean,
tagline.
no, you wear your influences on your sleeve. I mean, who gives a
Yeah,
shit? Like, it's fine. Like, if you dig it and like you hear it and you kind of make that connection yourself, then fantastic. But if you don't and you think it's like purely us, then we've done our job.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But it is what it is. That's what he wanted. That's what we got. There you go.
Everyone's
quality.
happy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we are at least. I mean,
That's the important thing.
yeah.
So just kind of cautious of time and looking to wrap it up, obviously. Have you got anything kind of coming up that you want to share or plug? Kind of any shows coming up, any gigs?
So,
What can we
I mean,
expect this
we're
rest of
we're
the
a bit
year?
quiet for gigs over the summer because we sort of foolishly all went and made summer plans, even though we knew that the album was coming. It's just
I
the
didn't.
production got held up a few times, and I think we all just kind of slowly gave up hope of it ever coming together. Went away and made plans, and then all of a sudden we had a finished album in front of us. So we're just putting the finishing touches on the album launch show, which is going to be at the end of August, Saturday the 30th of August at the Cart and Horses in London, because
Nice.
we're Iron Maiden fans. Why the hell not? We've got a
Just
really, really strong lineup for that. That's going to be a really fun show, I think.
just for the record, that hasn't been announced yet. So,
Well,
um, yeah,
yeah, but I mean, it will be soon enough, eh?
yeah, I'm sure it
Um,
will.
in the meantime, we're going to be shooting another music video with Dave. That should be a lot of fun.
That should be good.
Shooting that in the middle of July, so hopefully by the end of July that'll be ready to put out.
We're not going to
Um,
tell you what song. We're not going to
no,
give away too much, but
no,
it will be very good compared to what Crash Row was. I feel like the idea for this song is kind of covered together really nicely. But
Okay.
it should be great.
I look forward
yeah.
to seeing it.
Got a little while to go yet, but well, I say a little while is 4 or 5 weeks away. So you
Yeah,
know,
It'll come around quick.
it
it
always
will.
does. If 12 years can go like that, I mean, 6 weeks is nothing. Um,
Well,
uh,
maybe you'll blink and it'll be another 12 years, you know.
well, that's the thing. I hope not. I mean, and if it is the case, I'd rather money coming in than coming out. But
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath at all. Oh,
Nah.
we also have a gig in Portsmouth in December. I remember that with
Yeah.
Red Rum, I believe, right? Red Rum.
Yeah. Red Rum headlining us as
Yeah,
main support. That should be a really fun one. We've never played Portsmouth before. Our manager Sam is from there, so he's been really keen to get us down.
yeah,
And obviously, Red Rum are from there, and they're doing pretty well for themselves. So it should be a pretty banging atmosphere for that one.
yeah. Other than that, we're just trying to push the album. You know, sorting out some gigs as and when we can, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Making moves behind the scenes, gearing up for a big
yeah,
one next year.
yeah. I think once we've got this whole thing planned out, we just need to sort out some details at the moment. But we've got some things in the background. We keep pushing the album as much as we can, and try and not die in the summer heat, which I'm sure is going to affect me more than anyone else, being light skinned and ginger. But I guess the one thing we should sign off with is Hibernation, Devastation, out now on all major streaming platforms. Check us out on Instagram. Was it Bangover Fresh? And then Facebook, and just type in Bangover Hibernation Devastation in Google. We'll be one of the top ones you can see. Listen to the
Yeah.
album and tell us what your favorite song is.
Thank you so much. And I will keep an eye on when everything happens and drops.
Cool, man. Well,
Lovely.
we appreciate your time, man. Thank you very much for indulging us for the last hour.